that means? Psychological. That means psychologically, I distracted you to throw you off your whole square. Psychological distraction. Do anybody know what that means? Have you ever been psychologically distracted before? I'm gonna wait for my audience to come in and I'm gonna ask you this question again. Psychological distractions. Do you know what that means?
If you were elected again, I believe very strongly that the American people, and I pledged you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the
We
military.
missed Kamala's intro, but she said a bunch of bullshit. She said a bunch of
The jobs they
bullshit.
got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit, but I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his
No plan for you.
economic
How
plan,
you gonna
it's all
tell the
tax
world
breaks for the richest
what kind of
people.
plan he gonna have for
I'm
you?
offering what I describe as an opportunity economy.
Why
And
you ain't
the
offering
best
it right now?
economists in our country, if not
Why
the
you ain't been
world,
offering it
have
for the last
reviewed
4
our
years?
relative plans for the future of America.
Why you stuttering,
What
bitch?
Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said
We don't even
is
want to look at her
Donald Trump's
face.
plan
Look at Donald Trump's
would
face. Look at his
actually
smirk.
explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates
Ain't
have
no
described his economic
She lying.
plan as something that would increase
She lying. She just
inflation
said
and by the middle of
16
next
people.
year would invite a recession.
She said
You just
16
have
people
to
said
look
that.
at where we are and
Why you lying? She said 16 people said that. She lying in our
He
face.
has no plan for you because he is more interested in
How you gonna
defending
tell us
himself
he ain't got no
than
plan for us?
you.
Why you keep repeating that?
Maybe I got that to say. Look, I
Look.
went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our
She
work,
said he
our
don't have a
values.
plan. He do have a
It's gonna
plan.
make people
A brilliant
be able
plan.
to go and work,
A brilliant plan.
create jobs and create a lot of good, solid.
Talk,
money
Donald
for
Trump.
our-
We don't wanna see
for our
her.
country. And just to finish off,
Talk, Donald Trump.
She doesn't have a plan.
She don't have a plan.
Biden's plan.
She trying to copy Biden's plan.
Sentences like
She repeating forward sentences.
sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't.
She don't have a plan. She don't have a
I
plan.
want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax.
She is scared. Look at her face. She is scared.
Across the board. You
She like, oh my God, I done got myself in a world of trouble.
Up to 20%.
We finna see how incompetent
As you know, many
she
economists
is.
say
We
that
finna see how
tariffs are
ignorant
closer than
she
passed on to
is.
the
Look at her.
consumer.
Look how she
Vice
looking.
President Harris has argued
She ain't
that
laughing now, ain't she?
gas,
She
food,
ain't laughing
clothing,
now.
medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Hundreds
I had no
of
inflation,
billions.
virtually no inflation.
Hundreds and hundreds of
Highest
billions.
inflation perhaps in the history of our country.
Talk,
Because I've
talk.
had
We
to
don't want to
for
see
a
her
period of
face.
time. People
Make
can't
America
go out
great
and buy
again.
cereal or bacon or eggs or anything
Kids,
else.
y'all can't even
These-
afford
the
cereal,
people of our
bacon,
country
eggs,
are
or nothing.
Absolutely dying with what they've done.
They are killing our country.
And all you have
People
to do is
are
look
dying.
at
They can't even feed
polls say
themselves.
80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
It
President
is.
Harris, I do want to
It
ask you your
is.
response, and you heard what the
Their
president
economy
said, because
is
the Biden
terrible.
administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce.
Watch how
so that we don't end up
Donald
having
Trump
an
respond to this one. She's just stuck her mouth in a whole pot of bullshit. Watch what Donald Trump say.
About this with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point. When we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought
Get her.
chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy.
Yep, tell 'em.
Everything that
Tell
she
'em.
believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. If she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country,
Yep.
and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21.
It is 21.
That's
It's
because
higher
New
than
York
21
State
million.
pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country.
She repeats
They're
herself
criminals.
4
Many of
times.
These people coming in are criminals, and that's bad for our economy too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American
Pro-life.
history. Then last month,
Pro-life.
you said your administration would be great for women.
Let the
and your
states make the
reproductive rights.
decisions.
In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times.
Vice
Therefore,
President
why should
said
we trust
Well,
you?
the reason
you
I
shouldn't
say
be
that
trusted.
is because the
Why did they throw that
people
narrative in the
vote
Senate?
is
In the question.
They have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that.
They are
And
radical.
her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our
Let's look
country.
at her response. Let's look at her face.
Really
Look at her
bad.
face.
But her vice vice presidential pick, says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's
Yep.
execution
Walt said
no
that.
longer abortion
Walt
because
said
the baby
that.
is born.
And she lying. She gonna
Okay.
deny it.
And that's not okay with
She
me.
gonna deny it. Walt said that.
There's something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the
And put this hat on camera.
genius and heart and
Make America
strength
great again.
of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar,
Yep.
every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the
Give
vote of the
each
people
state
now. It's
the
not
power
the
to
federal
do what they
government.
want to do.
I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And
Yep,
I give
he did.
tremendous credit to those 6
He did.
justices.
There is no
He
state
did.
in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to it, President.
They said that they was gonna kill the baby.
A bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
It's not a fact. It's not an actually surprising fact.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans. Which
They
make
not
it
Trump abortion
criminal
bans. Those are
for
state
doctor
abortion
workers
bans.
to provide
Trump ain't had
health
shit to
care
do
in
with
one
that.
state. It provides
Why she lying on Trump? Trump abortion
Trump
bans.
abortion bans that make
There
no
she goes.
sense
She lying.
for
She lying.
incest.
She throwing scenarios out there lying on Trump.
A survivor
Trump
of
abortion
abortion
bans.
violation to their body does
That's
not
a
have
complete
the vote to
lie.
make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
She is lying.
And one does
Liar,
not
liar, pants on fire.
deeply held
Liar,
beliefs to
liar,
believe
pants
the
on
government
fire.
and Donald Trump
Liar,
should
liar,
not be
pants
telling
on
women
fire.
what to do.
Liar,
They
liar,
have
pants
body.
on
I talk
fire.
to women around
That bitch
our
lying.
country. You
She
wanna
lying.
talk about This is what people
She
want.
lying.
Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you.
So you want to kill that baby? You want to kill that baby? How you know what that lady want? She do want that baby. She do want that baby. You ain't got no kids, and that's what your problem is. You trying to feel for people who have kids, and you ain't got no kids. How in the hell that's gonna happen? This lady done lost her damn mind. This lady done lost her damn mind.
Your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms.
You think the
in
American
particular,
people
the freedom
believe?
to make decisions about
You
one's
think
own
the
body
American people believe?
should not be made by the government.
Thank you.
You
Vice
think
President
the
Harris.
you see how she talk like a politician? She thinks
I'm not signing
she
a
thinks
ban, and
the
there's no
American
reason to
people
sign a
believe.
ban, because
we
got
don't believe that
what
way.
Everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans,
And
everybody
citizens,
else,
and
every
citizens,
legal
we all
scholar
wanted
wanted
it.
to
We
be
wanted
back
Roe
in the
versus
states.
Wade
The states are
overturned.
voting, and it may take a little time.
We wanted that
but for
shit.
52 years,
Fuck wrong with
this
y'all?
issue has
Torn our country apart. Torn
And
our
they
country
wanted it back
apart.
to the states, and I did
The
something
Democrats,
that nobody thought was
they did that
possible.
shit intentionally.
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no.
What she said
I'm not
was
in
an
favor of
absolute
abortion
lie.
ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's
She
just
can't even get the vote, and she won't even come close to
They're
it.
going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe.
Yep.
The student
Yep.
loans, and then
A total
I think
catastrophe.
Probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again, we'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay
taxpayer.
off their student loans.
We paid off
They
our
needed it
student
for free.
loan.
But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that.
They didn't give us a
that they talked about
reimbursement for
abortion.
paying our
But if I
student
could
loans
just get
back.
yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with JD. In all fairness, JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me. But I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it. Just like she couldn't get student loans, they couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans.
They ain't even come close to getting student
A lot
loans.
of other people that had loans, they can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President
A
Harris,
vote
will
on
give
the
you time to
people.
respond, but I do
The
want to
people
ask, do you
vote.
support any restrictions
In every
on
state.
women's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
She
And
is lying.
it's been happening under
I know so many women that is carrying babies right now in their stomach. They do not want them motherfuckers.
dream of having
She is lying in our face.
IVF treatments.
How you know? You ain't never been pregnant in your life.
Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is.
How you know if you're working two jobs, you can afford childcare?
To get on a plane sitting next to strangers, to go and get the health care she needs.
Healthcare.
Barely can afford
To get an
do it,
abortion.
and what
She can
you're
afford a
putting
plane
on
ticket and
TV
fly out of state and go
is
get an abortion.
unconscionable. And the people of America,
Donald Trump ain't had nothing to do with that.
the majority of Americans
Donald Trump didn't have shit to do with that.
decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie.
Respond.
I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. On it.
Yeah.
They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
Would you allow it?
Why don't you ask
Would
my-
you allow it?
Would you
That's
answer the
problem.
question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
could
No,
do
don't ask a
abortion
question
to
with a
the
question.
7th month,
See how she trying to answer a question with a question?
Probably after
Would
that.
you allow
Just
it?
look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn
Yep.
now to immigration.
Got her.
border security.
Got her.
Issue that's important.
Got her. She didn't answer. She answered with another question. Why don't you answer the question of, no, bitch. Why her damn mic wasn't cut off in the first place? It was his time to fucking rebuttal. Why her mic wasn't cut the fuck off? Somebody in the mic check room need to be checked. Somebody need to be checked.
Is why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported.
Oh yeah, when?
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those
When?
folks who are working there right now.
When?
Overtime, trying to do their job.
When?
It would have allowed us to
When?
stop the flow of fentanyl coming into the United
When?
States. I know there are so many families.
Why y'all didn't do a presidential executive order?
Surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings.
So what happened to the
happened
bill?
To that bill?
What happened?
Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem his rallies. He talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
No, that's your rallies.
And I will tell you, the more
That's
you
her rallies. Like
talk about
right
this,
after Megan Thee Stallion started performing, all them people, all them black people in Georgia left the damn rally because all they wanted to see was Megan Thee Stallion. Pop that pussy, pop that ass, pop that ass, pop that
I'd
ass.
like to respond.
Let me just ask though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies.
Come on.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there.
Yep, they pay
And then
for they
she
people to
would
be at the Democratic Party. I told you they pay.
She can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the
they
cats.
killing the cats and dogs.
They're eating the pets of the people
Yeah,
that live
they are.
there.
They are. You heard
This
about
is
that
what's
shit?
happening in our country, and it's a shame.
Let's see if
As
she
far
rebuttal
as
on this.
the rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great.
Man, Donald Trump be killing their ass. You don't let all these immigrants in our country, and they done start eating our neighbors' dogs up. They eating the cats. Goddamn, make my teeth fall out. They eating the dogs. They eating the cats. Hell, that sounds good as hell. I'll eat one of them motherfuckers right now. Shit.
Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
People on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
say my
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
How he talked to the Springfield city manager that damn fast? He did not talk to the Springfield city. Boy, these motherfuckers just trying to make Trump look bad on TV. Don't fall for that shit. Don't fall for that shit.
Who have
Don't fall for that
formally
shit.
worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this
You're not
election.
the one addressing
I'll
them.
give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job, I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed, and I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire, they should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher. Because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it. Because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI defrauded. They were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me, every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases, and then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get-
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of it, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is
Standing
about
up for those
protecting
who's
Social
most
Security
vulnerable.
and Medicare
You talking a
is
bunch
based
of
on
nothing
long-standing
and
work that I have
bullshit.
done, protecting seniors from scams. My
Protecting
values
seniors
have
from
not
scams.
changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands
The true
strength
measure
is
of the
not in
leader.
beating people down, it's in lifting people up.
No.
I intend to be that president.
No.
President Trump, your first
You gotta beat people down if you're the president.
I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him, but I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
He got her! He got her! Gotcha!
And wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis.
She did. She did.
She went out and raised money to get them out of jail.
Yep.
She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Yep.
This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one.
Watch.
Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are not good things for the environment, as she understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
Why did she lie on him and said he incited?
Our nation's
He
capital.
didn't incite no dangerous mob.
140 law enforcement officers
He
were
didn't
injured,
incite.
and some died.
Ain't
And
no
understand,
officers died.
The former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did
Anti-Semitic
President
hate.
then at the time say?
Listen to her words
Five people
carefully.
on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was,
What was it?
I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our
She sounds
democracy,
stupid right now,
stand
don't you?
for
Stand for
rule of
what?
law,
She done got lost
and
in
to
her
end the
words.
chaos.
In the what chaos?
And to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Well, we know one thing. If y'all steal this election,
It was a
you will not be president because the people won't allow it to happen. The white folk gonna go crazy, and they finna start killing everything.
That story has
Everything finna die.
debunked.
Everything.
Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President.
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in
No, I
2020?
don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically, you
But
know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it, and they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically.
Yep, that's what they got
These
them here
people
for.
are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge looked at it.
And so
They said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you do a special on it, I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you, we have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news, and the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us, we won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build the pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if you weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children,
You are
mothers.
contradicting yourself
What we
right
know
now.
is that this war must end.
She is contradicting
It
herself.
must end immediately, and the way it will end is we
I don't
need
see
a
none of my
ceasefire
moderators
deal,
in
and
here.
we need the hostages out.
Where is my
And
moderators
so we
at
will
today?
continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the
How will
ability
you
to
give the
defend
Palestinians
itself,
an equal
in
state,
particular as it relates
an
to-
equal
as it
army,
relates to
knowing good and
Iran,
well
and
they
any
gonna
threat
attack
that
them
Iran and its
soon as they
proxies
equal up.
pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution.
Kiss the U.S.
where we can
goodbye
rebuild
if
Gaza, where
if
the
she gets in.
Palestinians
It's over
have
with.
security,
It's
self-determination,
over with.
and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to
Watch
get the
this.
hostages out
Watch
and
this.
prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And
Yep.
I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
And that's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel
For real?
and the Israeli
When?
people. He knows that.
When?
He's trying to again divide
When?
and
When?
distract
When?
from the reality.
When?
Which is, it is
When?
very well known
When?
that
She do
Donald
not want to
Trump
be
is
known as
weak
hating
in law,
Israel.
national security, and foreign
She
policy.
know
It is well
no, you
known
hate
that he
Israel.
hires
You
dictators,
Indian.
wants to be a
You
dictator
Indian.
on day one, according to
Indian people
himself.
don't like Israel.
It is well known
She's
that
Indian.
he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently
So many people
weak
told
and
her.
wrong on
Vice
national
President Harris.
security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins, and I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets paid a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution
Yeah,
Center
Trump.
right here in Philadelphia.
Who do you think is winning this debate right now? Who do you think is winning this debate right now? Come on, Trump or Harris? Who do you think is winning this debate right now? Trump is on fire right now, ain't he? Man, Trump.
You don't need to be a professor.
Hit that like button, man. Hit that like button. I'm supposed to have at least 100 likes right now. Hit that Trump. Trump is winning, dog. Trump. 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 Harris. Trump. Trump. Harris. Trump. 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 Harris. Trump. 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 Harris. We having fun right now. What's up, man? Hey, check this out. Man, y'all don't really know what's going on. Trump, 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 Harris, Trump, Trump. We already know who's winning. Trump. And Trump gonna win. This was the debate that fucked Harris all the way out of her presidency. She knows she really didn't want to debate him, and they only got 50-something days left, so this ain't a good look for the Democrat race right now. They know now they are really in trouble. Yeah, they in trouble now. They in trouble now. They in trouble now. They see they in Trump. Trump done got their ass in trouble now. Trump, 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 Trump. Who do you think winning? Who do you think winning this debate right now? Trump, 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 Trump. Damn. I know he winning. It don't take a rocket scientist to see this shit. Oh my God. He said he gonna stop the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel before he even get in office. Watch it stop. All of a sudden. But if she get in office, Israel won't exist. Israel won't exist. Less than 2 years, Israel is going to be destroyed. And I believe that. In less than that. And all those Israel citizens is going to come to America. We're going to have all those citizens in Israel over here in America. Watch what I tell you. Yeah. Iran. See, America, man, we are in so much bullshit right now. We got our hands in so much going on. The Biden administration. And Trump gonna pull us out of that shit. He gonna pull us out of that shit immediately. We can't wait till Trump get in office. Bro, if Harris get in, guns gonna be gone. I already know. Immediately. She was trying to take our guns away when she was... No. Yeah. Immediately. They all one in the same. Not Trump. Trump ain't a part of their agenda. Trump is not a part of their agenda, man. Tyrese Gibson got arrested for child support after being on Club Shay Shay. Tyrese Gibson. That's breaking news. He was bragging about how much money he had, and he went to child support court, and the judge told him, he ordered him to pay $72,000, and he told the judge he didn't have it, and he locked his ass up. Now, you was just on Shay Shay talking about how many millions you had. He don't want to pay $10,000 a month for child support. Got all them millions.
Top story live from Paris, live in Tel Aviv. We are here in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Harris is a joke.
It's your news playlist.
Harris is a joke.
Top story with
And
Tom
if she
Allen.
get in,
Weeknights at 7 on
we
NBC
are
News
over.
Now.
We are done. America
We're
will
back
be
with
over
tonight's
with.
debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
When it ends in just a few minutes, join us for an analysis of tonight's key moments. Our team will break
Yeah.
down how it could
This is
shake
gonna
up
be
the
great.
final sprint to Election Day. For now, though, let's go back to the debate live in Philadelphia.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
No
Back
audience.
to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try to get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
They
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he a president? We have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also, as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet please, he would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate as soon as they left. Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin.
What in the fuck did she just say?
In the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Thank you.
Said Trump did the most amazing
Man,
thing
Trump
I've
is
ever
killing
seen.
his.
He got
He
these
just
countries,
every time
the
she
28
started talking,
countries at the time,
Trump just get
to
quiet.
pay up. He said, "I've never seen." He's the head of NATO. He said, "I've never seen." For years, we were paying almost all of NATO.
You know you done
we were
fucked
being
up, don't
ripped
you?
off by European nations.
You know you
for
done fucked
trade
up, don't
and
you?
NATO. know. I got
He
them
got
to
you
pay
looking
up
so
by
bad
saying
right
one
now.
of the statements you made before. If you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that we began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. Here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I I think it's, I mean,
Are you black?
A tragedy.
Are you black?
Someone who
Are you black?
wants to be president who has
Are you black?
over the course of his career
Hell no.
attempted to use race to divide the American
You're
people.
not black.
You know, I do believe that the vast majority
The
of
attempt to
this
use
is
race to divide the
what
American
separates us,
people.
and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us.
But are you
especially
black?
by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
How you know they was
Took out a
innocent?
full-page
You was a
ad
part of the
calling for their
conviction.
execution.
You
This
said
is the
they
same
was guilty.
individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States.
That wasn't a
And I
birther
think the
lie.
American people
That was the truth. He was not the first black president of the United States.
want someone who understands, as I do. I travel our country.
So you black.
We see in each other a friend. We
So
see
are
in
you
each
black?
other a neighbor.
Are
We
you
don't
black?
want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I
Huh?
meet with people all the time
Who?
who tell me,
I'm black.
can we please just
I'm black.
have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people?
Huh?
Knowing that regardless
The
of
aspirations and the
people's color,
dreams of the
language that
American
grandmother
people.
speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations. And
Huh?
we want a
No, we
president
don't.
Who invests in those.
We do not have all have the same dreams and aspirations.
Vice President Harris. Thank you.
Motherfucker.
President Trump, this
Bitch,
is
who are you talking for?
This is the most divisive presidency
The most
in the history
divisive
of our country.
presidency
There's
in
never
this
been anything
country.
like it. They're destroying our country,
Yep.
and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time's up.
I want to respond to that. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald
There she
Trump.
go laughing.
And what
There
I
she
do
go
want
smiling
is a
again.
new
That
generation
ugly
of
ass
leaders in our
laugh.
country.
You are Joe
One who
Biden.
believes,
You and Joe Biden are one.
who brings a sense of
Y'all are married. You're vice president and he's president.
always disparaging
You are
the
Joe
American
Biden.
people.
You are part of
I
the Joe
believe in
Biden
what we
administration.
can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why
How you gonna
let's
strengthen our small
talk about
businesses?
Our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan
No, you
to
don't.
give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction.
Tax
To
deductions.
pursue
What the
their
fuck is a
ambitions, their
$50,000 tax
aspirations,
deduction?
Their hard work. I have
So
a
we get to
plan,
write off
$6,000
$50,000 in taxes.
for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's
You are
development.
not
I
trying
have
to
a
help us
plan
with our
that
children.
is about
You
allowing
giving away
people
money.
to be able to pursue
Giving it to broke
what has been
motherfuckers that's
freedom
having
in terms of the
children.
American dream,
Can't
but
afford
also
to have their own
a
children, so you gonna give them
down
money so they help them take care of their
$25,000
babies.
down payment assistance
That's what the
for
Democrats
first-time
want to do.
homebuyers.
They want a
That's the
$25,000 tax credit for home buyers.
Really want tonight.
We
as
don't want
opposed
that
to a
shit.
Conversation that is constantly
We don't
about
want that shit.
belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President
No.
Harris.
Forward.
Thank you.
No.
Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To defund the police, She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President
She
Trump,
has a
you have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need to respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry, we're
I just
gonna
need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said.
Trump,
I
this
need
is
to
now
respond.
your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that, and you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night.
Late, great John
walked onto the
McCain.
Senate floor
Late,
and said,
great John
No,
McCain.
you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right, and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Fast as
President
pro
Harris,
up in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on
I
that.
want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of...
mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to do. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences.
You said
who
climate
knows
change
either
is
being
real?
denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We
Climate
know that
change
we can actually deal
is
with
the
this
reason why
issue. The
people
young
lose their
people in
home?
America care deeply about this issue.
For
And
real?
I'm proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a
In
clean
climate?
energy economy while we have
Wow,
also
$1 trillion?
increased domestic gas production.
Y'all could have paid
to historic
reparations with
levels.
that.
We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. While I have been vice
You
president,
are lying.
we have
They lying.
invested in
They
clean
lying.
energy
They ain't
to the
created
point that
nothing.
we are opening up
They haven't
factories
created a
around the world.
goddamn
Donald Trump
thing.
said he was gonna
They
create
are lying.
manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates.
You know how he got that information? From Putin?
From Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Moscow. The president. Oh my God.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
We have a choice for state senate between former prosecutor Kip Mueller and extremist politician Suzette Valadares. Kip Mueller is 100% pro-choice. He's endorsed by Planned Parenthood because they know he'll fight to protect reproductive rights and women's health care. Meanwhile, Suzette Valadares has repeatedly voted against abortion rights. She even voted against protecting women from being imprisoned after a miscarriage, even in cases of rape and incest. When you get your ballot, the choice is clear. Vote Kip Mueller for state senate.
It's very important to me to meet students and family where they are. Even though my union strives to bring many programs to the students, most of our students come in as Spanish as their first language, and building the trust with the parents to let them partake in it is still an ongoing challenge. And so my personal goal was to be able to speak more Spanish. Through our collective power, we are increasing opportunities for the students that we serve. My name is Angela, and I'm proud to be a union teacher.
You don't need to be a professor to know that California has a housing crisis. Prop 33 would make that crisis worse. Stanford and UC experts agree. 33 would reduce construction.
Who do y'all think winning this debate right now?
Bureaucratic red tape.
Right now, who do you think winning this debate?
Voters rejected the same scheme in 2018 and 2020. Fixing our housing crisis
You have higher odds of winning the lottery than your individual vote having a sufficient weight on the outcome of the election. We already know if you're not an electoral, your vote is not electoral, then it doesn't count. 100,000 regular citizens can vote, but only one electoral vote counts. Both of them. Yeah. You said both of them going down. No, Trump is winning right now. Trump. Who do you think is winning this debate right now? Donald Trump. Can we get some likes? Can we get 100 likes? I'm trying to get to 100 likes. At least 100 likes in this video because I am exposing. I knew that this debate was going to be like the debate with Candace Owens and Rabbi Shimmy. Rabbi Shimmy. You know what I mean? Trump just exposed the shit out of Kamala Harris. Now, she in trouble. And they know it. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody don't try to assassinate her. And then they try to use another candidate in 40-something days. Man, this lady in trouble. She knows she couldn't handle. They knew she didn't have what it takes to challenge Donald Trump. And they still put her ass up there. Now, they done got a national embarrassment. A national embarrassment. Now we know Donald Trump's gonna win by a landslide. Donald Trump was sitting there like this every time she started talking. Y'all hear her talking? Y'all hear how she talking right now? Donald Trump didn't say shit. He was just like, go on and fuck yourself up. She talking herself out of the bed. She fucked herself up. Donald Trump didn't have to do nothing but be quiet. He was quiet at the most important times when she just let her speak. Hear the words that's coming out of her mouth. She wasn't saying shit. Oh my God. She is an evil witch. For real. For real. Trump is a genius for this shit. They know they really didn't want to debate him because of what and how he destroyed Biden, but to destroy the vice president, Kamala too? Oh, now what y'all gonna do? I wonder what the Democrats really gonna do next. They in trouble now. They know they in trouble. They know they done fucked up, don't they? They done really fucked up. They fucked up this time. Yep. Donald Trump finna kill her off. Last closing statements. Yeah, boy. Don't we kill her, Donald. Donald Trump finna kill her ass off with the final statement.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
Yep. Donald Trump get last word.
I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past.
How you know that?
And an attempt to take us backward.
How you know that?
But we're not going back. And
Oh,
I
we
do
not?
believe that the American people know.
Why she don't have that black accent now?
Us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that.
Why she don't have that Jezebel accent right now?
The aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition
Hope?
of the American people.
What
which
hope?
Is why I intend to create an opportunity economy.
No, you're not.
Investing in small businesses.
Why y'all haven't already created an opportunity economy?
What we can do around protect.
Why we couldn't have an opportunity when you was vice president?
It's about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living.
Giving hardworking folks a break. That's what hardworking folks are supposed to do. Work hard.
And ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world.
Bitch, you don't know what you're talking right now.
Protect our
No, you won't.
rights and freedoms, including the
Fundamental
right
rights
to
and
make
freedoms.
decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
You are the government. So if you're gonna make a decision for them, you the God. You just dictated everything you said.
Senator and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people.
Willie Brown was your only client. Willie Brown was your only client.
Victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever ask them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now.
Are you okay? Hell no, we ain't okay.
Not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans.
No, you don't.
And focus on what we
Because
can
you
do
not.
in the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing.
Bitch, 10, 20 years from now, you won't even be here.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things.
Why she ain't doing it now?
Hasn't she done it?
Why she ain't doing it now?
3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs.
Kill her,
all the things
Donald.
we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from
Kill him!
Philadelphia.
Kill him, Donald Trump!
I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching
The
here
worst
in the U.S. and all over the world.
presidency in our
ABC News.
presidency
Good night.
history.
And welcome back to NBC News coverage of the debate. Pick your adjective.
Okay, what do y'all think about that Trump? What do y'all think about that debate? Do you think that debate was good for the Harris administration? I don't think so. And Donald Trump got last words. He killed them off. They is the worst administration. The worst administration that ever existed in American history. And he did ask the one major question. Trump did mopped her. He mopped her. And they know it. Now, the Democrats is scrambling. Now, the Democrats know they in trouble. They should have went and got Governor Newsom. They should have went and got Gavin Newsom. They should have went and got Ron DeSantis. They should have went and got somebody else to fight against Trump. Because now, the Democrats in trouble. They know what it is. This is going to be a landslide Republican win. And if it don't, it's going to become a World War III, a Civil War World II in America. It's going down. the Bible we have now matches up with the Bible from thousands of years ago. Trump. Who do y'all think won that election? Right now, I'm just asking one question. I just want to see who do y'all think won that election? Because we don't see no more Kamala 2024. They already know it's over with. Who do y'all think won that election? That debate? Who do you think won that debate right there? Trump, 100%. Trump. Like, be realistic. Trump is going to be our next king. He's smart enough to know that the Biden-Harris administration is weak. Trump. Man, I done seen only one Kamala. You shouldn't even have put that post in there, man. Everybody know Trump won. You a damn fool to believe that Kamala Harris just won that damn election. You that damn dumb. You dumb. You dumb, dog. And you know you dumb. You feel dumb for following a person like that. Now, we gonna ask you again. Who are you gonna vote for? Donald Trump just won 15% more votes. He just converted 15 to 25% of the Democrats to vote for Republican. Now the world, America, sees that Donald Trump is better for this country. It's too late. The Republicans, they are now rejoicing and they are rejoicing. They are laughing. They are laughing at the goddamn Democrats right now. That's what y'all got? Oh man, we knew Trump was going to destroy her. We knew Trump was going to destroy her. And Trump just destroyed her. Can we get 100 likes out this video before we go? Because we just watched Trump destroy Kamala Harris live. He destroyed her. We already know what's finna happen next. Laugh my ass off. All the camel toe lovers. Jesus is better for this country. Trump is a puppet on a string. What up, gangster? That's what's up. We watched them destroy each other. No. Trump destroyed her. Both of them are trash. I don't like where the U.S. is going. Nobody should. Seriously. I don't either, bro. That's why I want to expose this shit to the masses. Trump, USA, Hitler. Thank you for the awesome videos. Thank you, Jamie B. You're welcome. Yeah, it don't look too good for the Democrats right now. And it don't take a rocket scientist, and you dumb as hell if you think Kamala Harris won that debate. What did she say? Not shit. Like she always do. And she tried to throw that little grin in there. No, you know you fucked up. You know. Now they looking at you like, man, damn, we done fucked up. And we got 54 days to the election. How in the hell we gonna replace this bitch in 54 days?
White House. And I have to tell you, if it weren't so dangerous, it reminds you of an old man yelling at the clouds. That was his thing. Get off my yard. I contrast that with the places Harris laying out matters. And so I think the whole country can see what happened tonight. We'll keep pushing forward. That's the way the country wants to see our politics be. She laid it out clearly. Donald Trump brought nothing tonight.
She laid out what?
Governor Walz, I do want to
boy,
ask
the Democrats, boy.
Answered questions on abortion restrictions. She never really answered that question. Can you clear that up? Where the Harris ticket stands on that?
Certainly, you couldn't get any different than this. The reinstitution of Roe versus Wade was the law of the land for 52 years. You saw this in there, and him pushing back to the states, she's exactly that. It's people like Amanda in Texas, which everybody saw on the stage in Chicago, nearly bleeding out, having sepsis twice because she can't get the care. She's been absolutely clear on this. Everything Donald
Might
Trump
just
said
move to
is untrue.
Jamaica
The clarity of this is
and
wrong.
live on
When you
natural,
have road, you have
on nature and love.
women
I'm
make their own
done worrying
decisions
about
with their healthcare
America's
providers, not Donald
bullshit,
Trump.
land of the
Thanks
lost.
so very much for joining us, Governor Walz. John?
And we have the other side of the ticket.
Make
Senator
America
Katie
great
Vance,
again. Well
Donald
said.
Trump's running mate joining us now. Senator Vance, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
So I want to get to one.
Let's see what Vance got to say.
Donald Trump was asked if he would veto a national abortion ban. He didn't answer the question. Suggested, I guess, that he wouldn't. And then it was pointed out that you, in fact, said not that long ago that he would veto a national abortion ban. Can you explain the mix-up here?
Well, I think the president's been very clear that he doesn't want a national abortion ban. I think in some ways he finds the question a little bit ridiculous because why are we asking him about legislation that's never going to actually happen and why he would veto it or not veto it when he says very explicitly that he doesn't support a national abortion ban and he wants these policies to be made by the states. But I think there's a deeper and more important issue here in this debate, which is that you had Kamala Harris effectively echoing platitude after platitude after platitude. The American people can't pay their grocery bills on platitudes. They can't put their kids in a house on platitudes. And Kamala Harris had a lot to say, but very little actual substance behind it for how she's going to lower grocery prices, secure the border, and make housing more affordable in this country. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. She can't run on a record, and she apparently can't run on much of her plans either because it's just a lot of slogans and not a whole lot of substance.
But Senator Vance, why won't he just say that he would veto the national abortion ban? And by the way, had you spoken to him about it before you were put in a position to answer that question?
No, I hadn't spoken to him about it because, again, Donald Trump thinks the question is absurd because he doesn't support a national abortion ban, and he's been explicit about it. And, John, I think that it's so preposterous for the media to focus so much on an issue where Donald Trump has been crystal clear and not on the fact that people can't afford groceries and housing because of Kamala Harris's policies. This election is actually quite simple, and Kamala Harris and apparently the media would like to distract Americans on issues, by the way, that Donald Trump's been crystal clear about, but they're not talking nearly enough. This debate didn't talk nearly enough about the fact that Americans are struggling because they can't afford groceries, they can't afford housing, and a lot of their kids are dying of fentanyl overdoses because Kamala Harris has let the Mexican drug cartels take over the southern border. This is a disgrace what's going on in our country, John, and we could do so much better if we just had better leadership. We've got the best workers, the most beautiful country, the best natural resources, but Kamala Harris's leadership is squandering the great benefits of this country. It's why we've got to get back to Donald Trump's leadership.
Senator, by the way, I asked because he hadn't been crystal clear and he said something different than what you said. That's why I was seeking clarification. But let me ask you about this for just very quickly. I heard Donald Trump before this debate describe Kamala Harris as, I'll just read a few of them, a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage tonight?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. She repeats these ridiculous platitudes where if you actually think about what she said, you realize that it doesn't make any sense. She talks a lot about her plans, but then her plans, when you analyze the substance, don't make any sense. And more importantly, John, the American people don't get fed on plans. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
All right, Senator Vance, thank you for joining us, Mary.
One thing both sides can agree on, this was a consequential night in this race. More reaction when we come back. Stay with us.
Was a consequential night. All right.
And Andrew.
Lies on both sides.
Okay.
Lies.
You came in all undecided. Has anything changed your mind tonight? Is there anything you heard here that you thought, oh yeah, I could go for that policy. I could stand with that candidate?
Not really. For me, I think Kamala had a good debate. I'm feel more favorably towards her than to Donald, but I'm still not sure. Not 100%.
The two of you women reacted very strongly when Harris was talking about abortion. When both candidates were talking about abortion rights, you reacted strongly to Donald Trump and his positions. You seemed emotional about it, Hannah.
Yes.
What was your thought on that? What was it about that part of the debate that struck you?
His misinformation. He sensationalized just so much facts or not things that are not facts that have been disproven. And he does it because that is what his supporters want to hear. And it really impacts who people like us, if we choose to vote for him or not, because we know you are lying, but you're still saying it, and it's disgusting.
You all said it was the economy going in. Andrew, anything you heard that changes how you're thinking about their economic policies?
No, because at the end of the day, December and November is going to roll around, and they're going to pass. They're going to say we're going to shut down the government, and they're going to pass an omnibus, and they're going to spend trillions of dollars, and nothing else is going to change. They're just going to keep spending money uncontrollably. Donald Trump spent $6 trillion in 2019 and added that to our deficit. So absolutely not. They're spending money, and then it's coming back into the government, to the congressmen, into the Senate, through funds, through PACs, through all the disgustingness.
Andrew, thank you so much. Hannah, Lynn, it's great to be with you. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Kate, thanks very much. Kristen Welker, Hallie Jackson back for some final thoughts. Kristen, first to you. Will we know who won this debate in days or weeks or months?
Well, a couple of weeks, I would say, once we look at the new poll numbers, Lester. As we've been saying, the Harris campaign feels emboldened. They just put out a statement saying Vice President Harris is ready for a second debate. Is Donald Trump? The big question, will that actually happen? And again, it's just fascinating to hear the voters who are sitting there with Kate Snow to hear that one of them at least feels a little bit more favorably toward Harris.
As we start to close our coverage, I always like to say Election Day is XX days away, but in fact, Election Day is, well, it starts tomorrow in one state, but it's 6 days away in Pennsylvania. Early voting is a huge factor.
Those mail-in ballots going out in Pennsylvania. You've got it in other battleground states as well coming up soon, including Michigan just this month. So that is for real, right? What's happening tonight matters when people go to make their decision about who they want in the White House. So will there be a second debate? That's an open question. You look at what's next. All four of these leaders, Kamala Harris and her running mate, former President Trump and his running mate, will be at 9/11 ceremonies tomorrow.
All right, Haley, thanks. Haley, that concludes our coverage of tonight's debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump.
More coverage tomorrow morning on Today. We'll see you bright and early. I'm Savannah Guthrie, Lester Holt, Hallie Jackson, Kristen.
Now y'all know where we finna go with this shit. We gotta go to YouTube. All right, y'all, that's the end of my video, and I pray that everybody push that like button. Go on and get y'all likes in and get y'all last comments in before we go. I think, my opinion, Trump won this debate. My opinion, by a landslide. The Democrats done messed up, and they know it. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. P. Diddy gets slammed with a $100 million default judgment in sexual assault lawsuit. Oh, we finna get into the good stuff. How y'all doing? Come on in. The news is here, and we finna talk. Who do y'all think won that debate? I'm trying to get 100 likes before I go, and I'm gonna stay on for about another 8 minutes. But who do you think won that debate?
Huge win for a Michigan inmate in his legal battle against disgraced hip-hop producer and rapper Sean Diddy Combs.
Everything that you're looking at, they're all tied in together. Every part, as crazy as it seems, as outrageous as it seems, it all ties in. Every bit of it.
The inmate was awarded a multi-million-dollar default judgment against Combs to the tune of $100 million. So how does an incarcerated person win that amount of money? Let's go back to the beginning. In previous court filings, Derek Lee Cardello Smith, an inmate at Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility who is serving multiple life sentences, accused the disgraced mogul of drugging and raping him at a party in 1997. Cardello Smith says in 97 he was a bartender at a Detroit area restaurant when he met Diddy and was invited to a gathering at the where Combs.
He won $100 million and he got locked up, and he locked up in prison with 100 million years.
But when Diddy showed interest in him, he got up and sat on the couch. According to the complaint, when Cardello Smith went to get another drink, Combs handed him a drink, thought to be a glass of Jim Beam. But when he sat down in the other room and drank more, he began to get drowsy and started to pass out. Combs allegedly said to him, "I added a little something to it for you." And then Cardello Smith passed out. He claims when he woke up, Combs told him he had penetrated him while he was unconscious. Cardello Smith says he ran into the bathroom and checked himself, noticing he was bleeding and in pain, and left the hotel and never went back. Cardello Smith claims he filed a police report, then he shut down and knew he was never going to be able to tell anyone about what happened. In his complaint, Cardello Smith alleges Combs paid off Detroit and Monroe police officers to keep the police report hidden for many decades. In August of 2024, Cardello Smith made a stunning claim that Diddy came to the Michigan prison in person to offer him more than $2 million, essentially to keep him quiet and dismiss the lawsuit. On August 7th, while appearing virtually in front of a judge and while representing himself in the matter, the Michigan inmate filed a motion for a temporary restraining order against the disgraced producer.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records, label owner, founder, also known as Puff P. Daddy, Bad Boy, Diddy Run the City, Sean Combs, also known as Sean Puffy Combs. And this is file number.
I'm trying to get 100 likes. Can I get 100 likes?
To NO. We'll grab the paperwork here real quick. This other paperwork. We do have Mr. Cardello Smith appearing from Michigan Department of Corrections. So I do see that we do have a proof of service on Mr. Combs, but for purposes of this hearing, you filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and or a preliminary injunction to stop all sales of property and assets attached to or involved with said property based on the interest of plaintiff and plaintiff's connections to defendant's sexual assault of plaintiff Derek Lee Cardello Smith, requiring a preliminary injunction and or a temporary restraining order. We did set that for hearing today, and luckily the Brooks Correctional Facility was able to make you available. Actually, they had to drive someone up today on another case. So, sir, I have received your motion and a proposed order. Do you wish to argue the motion today, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed then.
Okay, the purpose of it is based on two actions taken by Mr. Combs himself, directly with me here. We did a live one-on-one visit in our prison visit.
I decided what we had for dinner last week, so why don't you guys decide?
We know there's a lot to consider when searching for a home. Homes.com's suite of search features are smart. They allow you to pinpoint the homes that best suit you, like one in a good school district. A smarter search means your kid can complain about a good school.
Do I have to go to school?
Yeah, now go to your homework, sweetie.
Ugh.
You can also compare and analyze everything from crime levels to fire to flood risk and so much more. We help you search smarter, not harder. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
Millions of people have lost weight with personalized plans from Noom, like Evan, who's a picky eater but still found success with Noom.
I started going through pictures. I was significantly larger than I am now. You're a big boy. You gotta do something about this. Salads generally are the easy button. For me, that wasn't an option. I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. It didn't work for me. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better. I've lost 50 pounds using Noom.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com.
did a live one-on-one visit in our prison visiting room. There's 2 meetings within the past 2 weeks with Mr. Combs on one meeting, and then a financial advisor on the other meeting on Mr. Combs' behalf. And he stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now. He wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away. And he stated that he's going to be selling his property, and under the 2005 California Civil Code 2881-2885, the creation of liens, which allows out-of-state justices and orders to cause a stop of any title transfer, property transfers in Los Angeles or any other place that he has property. He stated that he wouldn't be able to proceed with that sale, and he did it the day after I served him the suit. And he also said that he won't be filing an answer to the complaint. He said, you can find me in default or whatever. He has a better chance with default than he would with having a restraining order stopped. And I said, so you want to hide you want to hide your money and stop from being quite possibly paid to me if I'm given the benefit of a judgment in my favor for what you've done to me. And he pretty much said, yeah. He said, you know how we get down. And I said, okay, well, I disagree with how you get down. Your sale shouldn't go through.
So I'm gonna, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Cardello Smith, okay. So you went in a different direction than I thought you were going into. I thought we were just gonna focus. No. You kind of went off on a different direction than what your actual motion was.
Yes.
So what I just want to say is settlement negotiations.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
In this case, are probably better not. Yeah, they're not to be placed on the record today. Okay.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. You're not an attorney. I understand that. So if we can just backtrack and focus just on your motion.
Ma'am. I get what you want.
Okay, thank you.
The motion stems from Combs listing his Los Angeles mansion, the same home raided by the feds in March. According to Cardello Smith, he wanted to prevent the sale of the mansion because it would deprive him of any monetary judgment if the civil matter went to a jury trial.
If he's allowed to sell his property that he has in LA and the properties that are in his name being used and held by other people in Michigan, then it will cause me harm because I can be tied directly to those properties through loans and through other areas of investment that I did when I was out there and while in prison, through money that I've sent. And if he's allowed to go through with any of the sales, I won't be able to recoup any of my monies or anything from him as a result of any possible judgment in this action, if he's allowed to proceed with it. And an injunction or a restraining order would help ensure that he's not manipulating and selling the property to avoid his responsibility in these matters here. That's what a temporary restraining order would do. It would prevent that from happening. Because it's a very serious matter. It involves a lot of money. And him selling this would help him avoid his liability for these actions done upon me. And I was just hoping that I'd be able to get the restraining order to prevent that. There won't be any harm to him, any of the parties.
New bug guy in town. Pesty is a do-it-yourself bug spray with professional results. They ship to your door every few months. It has everything you need in a powerful formula made specifically for your region. All you have to do is add water and bam, the bugs are gone without an actual company coming to your door. It's a quarter of what we were paying our local bug guy. The product is safe for kids and pets to be around. Did I mention that they have a money-back guarantee? There's literally zero risk in trying it yourself. It was super easy for my husband and I, so you should do it too.
Can I get 100 likes? I can't get 100 likes.
My school schedule
You got
was
about
packed.
3 moves.
I had no time to practice. I wanted to chase my dreams without sacrificing my education.
Then I found Learn for Life.
Flexibility means I don't
All right,
have to
man. I'm about to let y'all go. Thank y'all. God bless y'all for coming in and watching the debate with me.
I can learn my way.
Thank y'all, man. Thank y'all very much. All right, time to go.